Hello world, Popular team back at it again. We are now doing collage work, one of the themed areas we do in emoji reading. It's really kind of fundamentals where you learn the language of the descriptive words and then what those words mean in actual physiological cue terms on real world samples. We are now working on purification, collaging, and we'll be doing that this week and next week. The week after that is going to be the winter quiz, and then the week after that is going to be sample surfer time. We're going to go crazy on that. The plan with sample surfer is I'm going to do tours of mojos we have 1,000 plus of. We don't have a lot of those, so we'll do those first. Once we've gone through the tours, we'll start doing combinations of those mojos that we have that amount in compare and contrasts. And then as we're doing that, I'll keep working on the Rosetta Stone, and we'll keep getting things going over 1,000. Those will kind of come online, kind of like a video game. There'll be unlocked characters to look into. And then we'll keep taking those tours of the gender mojos. And then every time that they're added, that will increase social alchemy quizzes we can take based off them. And then, of course, also, anytime a career bubble comes online where it has been 1,000 plus, or at least very significantly turned over, then we will take quizzes on those also. All right, so tours into alchemies into career bubbles. That's the plan. All right, I am Nai Ji Coach.
I am Jaini Jailin.
I'm Nai Ji Ben.
This is Nai Ji Len.
All right, take it away.
All right, going into our current purifications document. And this is where we left off. So we'll pick back up at this point. We'll go in rotation, starting off with Coach. So Coach, whenever you're ready.
All righty, so this is Zaini Tim Baltz. I believe I had him down as a Jaini. I think it's CY. He's one of those very, very affable, happy Zaini. And he has this energy in most pictures you'll see of him. But the cheeks aren't moving. But the first thing, like maneuver-wise, that hit me was that beaming, good energy. But that's really cool, and he still has that maneuver done so well, but it is coming from that instrument, a Zaini. So the cheeks don't need to move for him to do his beaming, warm, emotive tone. Okay, so I kind of already mentioned the main thing with cheeks are moving very little, but also the mouth, although it's localized, the emoting, it's aware. It's aware. You can see the eyes and the mouth are kind of connected in a way that Jai mojos aren't. Often their perception power and their emoting seem like they're doing maybe a little two different things. His doesn't. Himself and like the other Zai mojos, they have their eyes locked on, and although they are logic-based, their values-based power is aware. So as they look out in the audience with their stimulus register, their dynamics mover will be paired with that, which is Ji. Ji, warm, structured, and aware of what's going on. So he gives us a little poppy smile. So thank you. Poppy. There you go.
Okay, Nizy Steve Cannelly.
He is an affable, swaggery Nizy. I thought he was a G9.
Okay, I can see that. Let's see, so he is a Nizy, not a G9. So things that you'll notice here is as far as the eyes, they have a more far away, looking from far away kind of quality, inward, from a place far inward, looking out, and there's also this hoodedness to the eyes that comes from being subjective, having the Nai first. Other differences is the Jai versus the Ji. So he has unaware expression. You can see it. He has a slight tilt to his right here when he's emoting, and has more energy on the lower lip. And it looks to be kind of unaware, kind of just more like reactionary, reacting to something.
It does have a very nice sort of contented tone. Mm-hmm. It actually muted, besides the roundness of his face a little bit, made me think maybe it was a pilot. But also, I think another significant thing was even the right, where he's more give a serious look, he still has a rather at peace Jai overall in his riff, and it kind of I thought softened his dissatisfaction. He doesn't look like he's bait or anything. I mean, he definitely looks like he has healthy amount of dissatisfaction. It is interesting seeing it paired with that very sort of at peace Jai. It rounds it. I won't say it lessens it. He's still as dissatisfied as a Nai Alpha should be, but it makes it a bit more soulfully peaceful. So that still can be within, a Nai source ranking.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's one of the things that made me think I was seeing Nai maybe wasn't as high.
Yeah, makes total sense.
But that wasn't because Nai was weak. It was that actually quite good Jai development he has.
Yeah.
It changed the tone of it, matured it.
Yep, and then here when he's emoting, you don't see the activation in the cheeks and in the eye area either. They have two distinct things going on. Him being lead perception as opposed to discernment lead.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yep.
I hear like a really loud echo. I'm not sure. I guess I can just turn down my volume so it doesn't. There we go. So this is what was he read as? No, you don't have to turn on your volume if you don't want to, but
Okay.
if you I don't know. But so this is what was he read as before?
G9, he's same kind of thing happened as the other one. I don't know if he's from Texas, but he sort of has this sort of calm, at peace, almost swaggery Jai in a way, but like a happy swagger.
Yeah, I mean he's kind of got a riff that's more it's more affable, more kind of outgoing socially, in terms of how he uses his emoting, I guess you could say. And that kind of creates a look. The physically is similar to the way G users use their G, but isn't in terms of the qualia, because it's distinctly unaware. So.
Should Mitchell go?
Is he here?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Mitchell, go take that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Happy New Year, by the way.
Happy New Year.
Yes, indeed.
Happy New Year.
All right, Nizy Ben Johnson.
I believe I had Ben Johnson down as an IAG. Something about his eyes, I think, seem very psychologically sort of cagey, cunning, and I mistook that for being something. Not that Nizy, a riff couldn't produce that same kind of maneuver. But like looking at him now, I believe the mouth and the cues are actually lining up with Nizy. But in roles I've seen him, he's a very crafty, psychologically crafty. You see a little bit. You get the younger one, the way he looks. It's a bit. Sometimes he can look a bit more at a person flatly. He looks more like he's looking at a person. And on the left, you can see it as well. He's sort of like a more psychologically piercing gaze than some Nizy have, but some can get it very, very strong. Like Mikolash Calder-Waldo, he looks different. Like he looks different than him. He still has that very, almost like personal-oriented cunning in the eyes. But I think it's again just a good Jai development. Gives the eyes a different quality. And the one I thought it made it seem like maybe it was a bit more less dissatisfied. In this, I thought I was seeing more values-based because of how much that is toned. I don't know if you guys are seeing that, but to me, because everyone gets different reads on people, for me, there's like a psychological cunningness that kind of hits me right away with this sample. Anyway, Nizy, IG.
Yeah, I see that. He has that cunning in a sort of a, I don't know, psychological sort of way. That the quality that he has in his eyes.
Is this something I should explain?
Yeah, yeah, because we have not done
Nizy.
IG.
Okay.
The mills.
So yeah, well, the cues I guess I'll focus on then. So despite all of the stuff we're talking about the cunning eyes, the way that they're cunning, which reminds you of Naiji, he does, like, he's not really ever doing, at least in these pictures, and presumably ever, an emoting that goes readily above the midline of the face. You can see the emoting does actually stay pretty close to the mouth area in both pictures. I mean, even though there's like some like emotive tone going on. It does seem in both of them. It's not going off his face, which is one thing you would see if he was an IG. And then also, the mouth. I mean, it's got like, it's unaware. It's not. It doesn't have. It's got the emphasis on the lower lip. That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah. He's not really doing like that kind of upturn upper lip thing that you see with G users more. You can see it like even better, I think, on the left. But yeah, both.
Kind of looks like Leonardo DiCaprio on the left there, if he was an IC.
Yeah.
Revenant. Or even in what do you call it? The one with when he plays the villain in that one, Django Unchained. Yeah, a little bit like him too.
Mm-hmm. Nope.
Okay, Vijay, Molly.
Aren't those the same people? Leonardo DiCaprio? I think he was unless you mean a different villain in that movie.
Yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio. He kind of the roles that he played seem kind of similar. Those two, although different, right?
Right,
I think he had the beard.
But similar, like period piece, westerny, but while being sort of psycho.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
Dastardly. It's like
Prime role for similarity.
Right. So this one's me.
Molly Hagan. She was down as a Nizai. As you can see, she kind of keeps her anvil on a good amount. Sort of.
So you want to do this one, Coach?
Oh,
I thought I was going to go. But,
threw me off. Okay, my apologies. The rotation got thrown up. Go ahead, take it. She was a Nizai, red as a Nizai. Go ahead, take it from there.
All right, thanks. So this is Nijai Molly Hagan. So you said she was a Nizai. Yeah, I mean, her cheeks kind of look like they could be seen as being sheer, like in a Zai kind of way, but the emoting is going up higher, I think, into the cheek area, and those are not like unflappable. They're not like it's not like an area beneath the eyes and above the lip line that's like with that unflappable Zai signal. The Zhai definitely does look like it's going into them, and the emoting also looks unaware. I know there's also something about the eyes that look like me with Zhai kind of flavoring them in a way too. Although the Zhai doesn't go into the eyes, it kind of has a similar. Given that Nijai, their Ni and their Zhai are going to be flavored by one another, and because they share that compound, so I think all of her powers are going to have that Nijai quality to them a little bit. And emphasis.
You can see, but her mouth never looks aware. It still looks unaware. She doesn't move a lot, and it doesn't look natural for her to hold it. Like it looks like she's holding, like more emoting would like to present itself, but she's keeping it.
Right. So I think she has good Z development, but yeah, it looks like when she's holding herself, it's a Zhai kind of holding, not a Zai like emotionless Zai kind of like holding itself. So yeah, I feel like she kind of riffs of me of someone, but I'm not able to pinpoint.
Riffs me of Sally Field.
Oh, yeah.
Ah, right.
Sally Field has a good amount of Z.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard. She can explode up into big expressions. A lot of times she holds a fairly Z countenance.
Yeah.
So,
Well, thank you.
all right, so this one's mine. Okay.
Yeah.
Ziny, Tony J. Pretty straightforward. Thought he was a Ziny, same as the other one. You can see he's very affable. Has a very kind of benevolent energy, and so that is actually his polar G, giving out a very kind of consistent benevolent. He holds a space with the Zai, but then he generally exudes a kind of G benevolent vibe. But the cheeks are not moving at all, very localized around the mouth area. But the mouth area is popping out again. The eyes and both those, the eyes and the mouth are kind of connected, doing their objective maneuvers.
Liney Robin Atkin Downs.
Okay, he is one where it was, I thought he was a Nizai. I saw Adsir, but he has a bit more of a compact
more
face.
compact face, maybe not as, especially here on the right-hand side, certain pictures you could really he has a little less elongated look here, looking down, that emphasizes.
Yeah, we're talking about
That
cases where
point
sometimes
in,
the
but-
video is more challenging and the pictures are easier, like the one cowboy, the psychological one. In the pictures, it's actually easier to see he's an IZ because he's not doing his game on you. In the movies, he's doing that game. You're kind of hit by that, like, psychological caginess. He's the reverse. In video, you can see his elongation. You can see the emoji. He doesn't move out of the mouth that much, and the kind of way he sways a little bit. But in pictures, you're kind of hit by the broadness of those cheeks. So this one's a bit more challenging to see in the picture, easier to see in video.
Yeah, it's a unique looking riff of Ziny.
Yeah, yeah, that is an interesting, but
One tell me that is
localized
actually,
G here.
actually the models, females and then later males. Actually, him was just working females. Is there are some females that have that very dramatic, ziny look, but broad. It's really interesting. They have very broad cheeks or voluptuous lips. But there's quite a few models that are ziny that have quite broad, sheer cheeks and full, very full lips. So that helped me kind of crack that.
All right, Mitchell.
My turn.
Or is it John Lee's turn? No, I think
No,
it's Mitchell.
yeah.
Okay, yeah. So it's Mitchell's turn.
All right, Ziny Josh Keaton.
He was read as.
I'm trying to think. Not sure. If I had to make a guess, I probably read him as like a Durham because of his whole look and such. So I would distinguish between the Durhams.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I kind of like see what you're saying, but it's hard to describe.
I can see Naiji a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He does look subjective. Yeah,
Or
but I mean,
Viking.
there's a discernment leader.
Kind of been more of a feral vibe than some of the Ziny go with.
A little bit. I mean, he's got a little bit of a beard, but a lot of them do. I mean, it's not really common.
Right.
He has a good amount of poise
Yeah,
that
True.
could be seen as the hunter.
The eyes kind of pop out a little bit.
He's interesting eyes, but they're not. You look at the eyes. They have that icy sigh.
Yeah.
I don't know. What's that called? We call it
Steveness.
Veil and possibility.
veil. Yeah. You can see that in the eyes for sure. And they're very calming. That's actually that's actually the thing about them that stands out. They're not piercing; they're calming. But yeah, so there you go. That's why he's signing, and he's got that unifield energy. He's not the G. It's never going up. It's not going up his face at all in any picture.
That's what helped me as well, Mitchell. The calming quality in the unifield. That's what kind of broke the spell. Thank you.
Ben,
Shiny Patrick. How do you pronounce that last name?
Labiorto.
Laburto. Laburto.
Yep.
Okay. He was down as a Genii, fuller face.
Okay, yeah. I mean, he's got like a broad face.
Oh, kind of reminds me of Tim. Did we get his name? Tim Robbins? No.
Robin.
And he's kind of got. I do also notice though that he has. I'm not sure what that is, but oftentimes subjectives and other people can as well. But there's like a roundness in the cheeks and so forth, but it gets like really narrow once you get to like the eyes, and then it kind of broadens a little bit. So there's kind of like a narrowing around the eyes area, like the kind of sort of maybe loosely corresponds with hooded eyes, but I'm not entirely sure. It might not be that much.
I know what you're saying. You're talking about the actual like the width. The width kind of narrows in at the eye.
Yeah, like narrows in the eyes area, sort of. I'm not sure what that is exactly.
Yeah.
Inverted triangle.
I've noticed that, for example, Ben, you're right. I've noticed that also in politics, for example, where you have the Xeni and the two Vi Alpha, and often the Vi Alpha have a power head. One thing is true, a lot of times some of the Vi Alpha have a larger head. They still do have that narrowing a bit of the width when it comes to the eyes.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like it might be some physical correlation to hooded eyes, possibly, but I have no idea. It's definitely not like a one-to-one thing, but it's like something you.
I know what you're talking about.
That sort of helps, sort of, I guess. It kind of helps you sort of counteract the because like you often get swayed by the size of a person's face, but if you also see that, you might take into consideration maybe
automatically it's a helmet.
Yeah, it might make you think, well, maybe this isn't a helmet face, or so it's kind of. But yeah, I can see he's definitely looks like an Adrom to me, and I can see the unaware emoting go throughout his whole face.
Yeah, remind me of Tim Robbins. Nizy, Jeff Oster, Hagee.
Yeah. Again, this one I think was just because he got put in all these like hunky soap opera kind of things in some ways. I had him out as a G9. He doesn't look like a G9 in this picture. But I think I let the roles he get cast in throw me.
Yeah, I definitely feel like the emoting does not go into the cheeks at all, let alone the eyes, and it just seems like a very Z kind of bracing quality. The eyes, they pop out more so than the mouth area. The bottom lip also pops out more so than the upper lip. He's got the perception field distinct, and he's a perception lead mojo. So he's a bifield face, not the unifield face.
Nizy Ian Richardson. He's one that I actually had down as Nizy, and then I started seeing that some of the Nizy I thought were Nizy were shiny, and I kind of freaked out a bit. And I was like, "Look at that smile! Look how PC looks. That's a shiny, but it's not." So I actually had him right. Freaked out, put him as a shiny for a little while. He's back where he should be. A Nizy with really very adept Jai. See on the left, kind of more peaceful, and on the right. He has a kind of psychologically piercing gaze. It's not a knowing smile. It's not. It's not aware. It's not an aware smile. It is knowing. Like you can kind of see, like it is connected to his Z and his Nai. You can see that connection. Nai, Z, Jai, and he's looking at you, and he's feeling what he's feeling while he looks at you. Oh,
Shiny Warren Lester.
You know what? Take him out. I'm still working on him. He's a Nez Tower. I'm still working out which one he is.
Yeah, he looks kind of tricky.
Yeah, he does. Ziny Neil Ross.
Ziny Neil Ross. If I had to make a guess, I probably had him as a Nizy before I realized how big Ziny and Shiny are in voice acting.
Right. Yeah. I see that.
Who does he do the voices of?
But back in the day, I thought that there was a lot more Nizy in voice acting. They're in there, but I thought it's
Yeah, so his eyes have that knee expectant or knee receptive quality, and there's no, his G demoting is localized, even though he has, several like sort of, I would say like muscle, like tracks that are coming from the cheek. It's still, they're not really being activated by the G. But he does have an engaging sort of countenance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My turn. Nizai Rig Rogers.
Had bounds to Nizy. He often plays criminal characters of ill repute, and so I think I saw him as Zez, but I took that and went country with it. He's actually an Nizy who does those roles.
Okay. Yeah. I almost can see like a little bit why you might think that, but again, I think we had less because we had so many Nizai that were Nizy before. So maybe that's why. Yeah, his eyes just look like sort of knee goofy. They don't really look eye piercing. And they're not like crazy V too that you might see with an IC. And then his mouth.
He's a little more serious hangdog than some Nizy do.
Yeah.
A little more like, world weary. He plays a bit of a world weary kind of vibe.
Maybe. Yeah. He looks a little haggard, kind of in some pictures. Look at him. And his mouth, I mean, it's like pursed, but I mean, I guess users can do that. But like, I don't know. It's aware and like.
Yeah, this is a tricky one. I feel like
He's a hard one.
I
I
feel
can
like
see that his mouth's aware. I don't know how to say what it thinks. I mean, obviously, okay, so I like it's got the emphasis.
energy, or even like the Mac energy, a lot of the knees I do. That's why it took me a while to get him.
Yeah, he does like this weird. He's like a purse thing that almost looks like it's going in a little bit.
Weird.
It's like it looks like it's going in almost, like he's like holding it there with his eye or something. Almost
It's
like
like
it
he's
could be-
smiling at you, but he's not really giving it.
Yeah,
It's interesting.
like he's putting out a smile, but it's like a hell
Yes,
of
exactly.
a
He's putting out-
smile.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
almost looks. I don't know.
Smiling for the sake of like keeping up appearances in a way, right?
Yeah, but it does look aware. Like he's doing that. Like it's not like he's like waiting for something to happen. Really.
He's getting a lot of eye game though.
Mhm.
But and the eyes definitely look neat to me. Like they look diffuse.
Yeah.
They have a little bit of a mischievous kind of look to them.
Yeah.
Mischievous.
It's like,
diffuse.
you're looking at me.
Johnny Phil Morris.
Take him out. He's another one.
All right.
He's in Nez Tower. Still working which one he is.
Alright.
So Tiny Sandra Locke.
Wow.
How about
Morris. All right. Yes, Ziny Sandra Locke had her down as an IG.
Okay.
She was not letting me go with, is one thing, but actually it's because she was with Clint Eastwood for so long, and they had a very sort of ugly breakup, and so I don't know, it seemed more like double IG kind of action. Plus, I didn't want to think that Clint Eastwood, was going with a Ziny, but all that happened. I believe an IG with a Ziny, and it went poorly. Imagine that.
Yeah, I mean, Ziny can be kind of tricky sometimes compared to Naiji. I mean, because Naiji can have a lot of Zai, and Ziny can, good emoting and things like that. But one key difference is, like, you'll look in the eyes, and, like, the eyes, I mean, yeah, you'll see some, like, twitching, some HSP energy and so forth. They are interpretive. But it'll look a little bit different. It'll look more like it has more of a dancing, more, light quality. It'll be more like neat interpretive energy. And then also the eyes, I mean, you'll see like Zai chilliness, but that's not the same as like, and you'll see, and Zai can kind of, it is a subjective power, so it does kind of look like it's in its own personal space, but it doesn't look like dissatisfied. It doesn't look like hunter energy. It looks more just like cool and, like a cool film, essentially, of dispassion.
The one thing that helped me with her was the models, and in particular, you see on the right, this look. A lot of the Ziny models make that look, and also can have it as an overall riff, and it's a bit imperious looking. Not in a good or bad way, it's just a thing. Some have good, some have bad, but it's an imperiousness, and sometimes an imperiousness can seem maybe like dissatisfaction, but it's not.
Yeah.
Reminds me a little bit of Ian McCulkey from Home Alone.
Mm-hmm.
Now picture that right. Kind of rips a little bit of him. It's interesting.
his sister? Mom.
All right, this is Nizai Chick Venera.
I believe I had him down as a as a Nizai. Same thing, his mouth doesn't look as, I don't say happy, but something is I often associate with G-mojos, G-users. Not G-mojo, but G-users. Do you mean?
Upward curving, you mean? Like this one's
Yeah,
a little down.
and sort of,
It looks kind of almost ambly in a way.
yeah, almost ambly, and also he's holding back his emotions.
Yeah, I feel like it kind of almost seems like, yeah, it's an interesting thing.
These are giving a lot of G, but it goes sideways. But him and the other guy, they kind of generally kind of just don't present it fully. They keep it, even for what they're capable of doing,
Keep it withheld.
they keep it withheld with their Zai.
Yeah, he also seems to, I think, probably have a bit of vibe development.
Yeah, it's very, very kind of watchful.
Yeah, it's watchful, kind of a little bit careful, a little bit maybe. But I do notice that the cheeks do look quite sheer, and they look like Zai probably. Although the way he has so much, like, I feel like a directive kind of energy to him, it almost seems like you're seeing Z, but it's actually Zai, and he's actually very comfortable, kind of like being calm. And I guess that's one way to, like, I guess describe his overall energy is he's very calm and sort of like in his Zai and a little bit in his Vi as well. But yeah, it's an interesting thing.
Calm and a bit withholding.
Yeah, withholding.
Not that's a bad thing, but sort of like you always said.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Nijai May Whitman. I think I made her down as a Nizai because she has a thing where she has the apple cheeks, but they're very smooth to a degree, and then the upper lip, something about it kind of pops out. And so I thought maybe I was saying Cheshire Cat, but I don't think I am. I think that's just the structure of that upper lip. But I think that those are apple cheeks, and I think they are moving above midline.
Interesting. Her overall look kind of seems a little bit like Nizai. They have a sort of something about their skin kind of looks a little bit. I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of almost like V, but not V, right? It's kind of like
it's more yang. It's a different yang, but yeah, it is another kind of yangness. Yeah.
I think there's like the way she did her makeup there. It kind of gave off that impression.
Yeah, the makeup, and she also has a bit of like a smartass kind of riff in general, in a really cool way. She has a smartass vibe. I think maybe that smartass you can see in zingy Zez, but it's smartass.
Right.
Ziny Richard Bly.
Remember him?
Yeah, from Mrs. Fisher's
That's right.
Murder
Has nice Z.
Butler. Yeah, so he has a lot of poise to him, and that's why he's probably been cast as like roles of butlers, like in this particular show we pulled them from in this left-hand picture. So he has a lot of poise coming from his vibe, but certain things you'll see that will be different that Nizy or jump out in pictures would be the eyes. Again, they have that receptive quality for coming from Ni, also like like some buoyancy and lift, that optimism, playfulness, and then the emoting is very localized around the mouth area. See him here when he's emoting a little bit here on the left-hand side. It's really localized around the mouth area. Yeah.
But the eyes do have a little
twinkle.
twinkly lift. Yeah. Twinkle lift.
Vijay Joanna Trias.
Okay, it's probably fairly obvious to see that in this picture, but Jailene and I saw her on Men, Woman, Wild, an offshoot of Naked and Afraid, and her fiance were out there feral style, and they're Vijez, but they're so feral and they're bantering, I kind of projected that it was two Nijez, and Nijez you see a lot more in the show, so the fact that they were, Jez Hunter and Jez Gather, the banter they had, the fact they're so feral, and they're on basically a Naked and Afraid spinoff, which I had not seen a Vijay or a Vijay, but there it is. So I had it down as Nijai.
Yep, but yeah, I can see it. So there you go. I mean, she's just Gather, got all the cues except her eyes and her cheeks and stuff. Well, her eyes are V. They're clearly the camera lens quality, not the diffuse knee at all. And just like I don't know, smoother cheeks, I guess. V skin.
Yeah.
Ben, you get the Beyonce. Beyonce was down as Naiji.
Oh, fiance. I thought you were saying Beyonce.
I actually heard that too, but I
I heard that too. I was like, what?
No. This is
Beyonce.
Beyonce. And
It's
they
terrifying.
went on Naked Afraid to Bond.
All right.
Didn't work out.
Vaji Mitchell Langan.
He was read as Naiji.
Okay. So there's like some like feral Vaji dude out in the wild or something.
Yeah, he's a feral survivalist, Vaji.
I mean, like, yeah. I mean, that's tricky because he's very on point, but he's like on point about like survivalist stuff. So it's kind of like, you know, his game and his energy is going to be more like out in the wild. But there, luckily, I mean, there's more. You know, you can still distinguish the eyes by like how concerned they are, and they still aren't going to have like be dominated by interpretive energy. It's still going to look very literal, despite the fact that his game is, you know, is similar to a lot of Naiji.
Yeah. And the tightness in the corners of the mouth too.
Yeah.
You can see from the vibe.
All right, so we have Shiny Vanessa Zima.
This came from, I forget which Zima, Madeline Zima, but I had misread her as an IG because she was such a badass who punched David Duchovny in the face during sex in the show Californication. So I thought I was looking at a huntress, but once I saw through her, I realized, oh, the other Zima sisters are probably also not an IG.
Oh, so
This
you
just helped me because they're a bit more, I'd say, classic Jaini than Madeline is. Madeline's a bit more of a huntressy Jaini. They're a bit more, we see more regularly.
so there's more than two.
Kind of, I think the cues aren't really super hard to see. It was a question of I went the family thing.
So how many sisters does Madeline have? 3
total: Madeline, Vanessa, and Yvonne.
So you looked at Vanessa and then you corrected the other two, or what did you?
I looked at. I corrected Madeline. Madeline's the famous one. When I realized that she was actually a a huntressy kind of Jaini. Then I realized that the sisters. I didn't really give the other two sisters that much attention. They're not as. I'm not offending them right now, but they're not as well known as her. She's a case that kind of worked, and then I kind of used that to leverage her sisters. So once I corrected Madeline, I was like, I used Madeline to leverage her sisters. I should look at those. And when I did, I'm like, oh. And just because I was still wondering about Madeline, but I went to look at her sisters. Her sisters look, even more classic Jaini, and that helped me really solve the case for all three.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely see the unifield face. It definitely looks like the eyes are not popping out as much as the mouth is, and the bottom lip definitely with a Jai unaware quality to it. And that's Jai poignancy, looks like. And yeah, overall, she doesn't seem like she has a huntress kind of intensity energy, although I think she probably does have good Vi development. Like I think Madeline Zima probably has some good Vi development.
Right.
Yeah, overall, Jaini makes a lot of sense. Interesting, her eyes. I think they're different colors.
Poise quality to them.
Yeah.
They're different, but that kind of defines them. All right, Nijai, Linda Blair. Okay, so what happened here is she was read as a Jaini, and that's because she basically got tortured as a little girl in Exorcist, and her Jai was like, being demon-possessed sucks, and she's pumping out, it sucks to be possessed by a demon with her Jai. It's heavy. And so I thought I was looking at a Jai Alpha. But looking at her cues, having stepped away from the movie for a few years, it's like, oh, she looks a lot more like a Nijai. But it was the amount of Jai distress. That's basically kind of, one of the main things we remember about her in that she generally considered to be very great in that role is it was harrowing. And the harrowing experience her Jai goes through, the audience goes through it with her. That is tandem Jai harrowing.
Oh, so she's the one that has her head go behind.
Yeah, she's the one that has her head around, split pea soup.
Yeah, and walks like a
Oh,
spider down
cool.
those stairs.
I was like watching some videos about her, and I saw some scenes of that. I was like, she looks kind of interesting. I didn't really understand it at the time, though. But yeah, she's a Nijai. That's interesting.
Imagine if you remember the scenes, basically her Jai freaking out in every scene.
I don't think Jai shows up too much in in horror movies, but I think some Nijai, I think there are some in there, right? Mostly I feel like I see a lot of Nijai.
Jai Ni and Jai V basically being harassed is kind of a horror movie staple.
Classic.
Really? Oh,
Yes.
And even Ziny, because like Jamie Lee Curtis.
That's true.
I know I've seen a lot of with Nijai females, but yeah.
Yeah.
Had her down as a Naiji. She's a steely badass.
Ziny Sandal Bergman.
And I knew her from Conan the Barbarian.
Oh, so it's a inspirational first time.
It was
I thought she
inspirational.
looked
It
weird. I
was.
remember her
You're right.
collages.
You're right.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Mitchell?
I said I always thought she looked weird. I remember her in the collages.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So good
I
to see that
I didn't
localized. She also the receptive Nia died.
Sheer cheeks.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
This one's Michelle.
Yeah.
G by Kristen Alderson.
With her, I jumped around a bunch of places, but the one I tried to make stick the longest was Jai V. I thought I was like, okay, I'm seeing Chavez. I didn't realize how many Jibai ladies were in soaps. And so I tried to make Jai V fit, but it didn't. Jibai. Take it away.
Yeah, she is Shibai. So yeah, you can see her mouth. It has that G with Vi quality, so it's like a wear, and it also has like this like real tight quality. I don't know. I always see that like on the outer edges of the mouth. Even the adserps have it. That look. We really see it with the Dursens, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then her eyes. They are pretty out there, which maybe could seem like an adaptive, but it's probably just the objectiveness, the unhooded quality. But it's like that bi on point looking at you with a lot of knee brightness.
The center pupil.
Yeah, and that can seem like the Jibai really can have very strong like eyes that way. I don't know why, but it seems like maybe like a knee alpha or it's like a V mojo or something, but no. It's just like they have a lot of like knee Vi looking at you.
Mm-hmm. It's really cool, actually.
And like G attitude. So like it's a powerful combination.
Speaking of soaps, Coach, what's up with soaps? As far as like the way that they do their videos and stuff, like the movies, the scenes and stuff. There's like no music usually. It's just two people like kind of like switching back and forth the camera, talking to one another about like some. It's kind of interesting the way that they do the. They do that because I had like the opportunity to sort of like flipping through the channels one day. I was, in the garage, and I had, what do you call it? I went to a channel, and there was like some show on, and I was like, the way that they do their TV shows is so different compared to like styles of like other movies.
There's a couple of reasons for that. They pretty much all revolve around the amount of media that needs to be presented to the public. Compared to other TV shows and even more so movies, obviously, they had to generate the most content. They had to generally put content out every day during the week back when the soap operas were on. So because of that, they have to do certain things. One is that they use less cameras, less setups, and so they generally film it a bit more like you're filming a stage production. And they don't have time for a lot of takes. So they kind of get the lines down and they go in, they have to kind of hit it in the scene. And there can't be a lot of like moving the scene around, trying different takes and so forth. It's more like you go in the scene, you knock out like your bench press, get it filmed and move on. Also, they do things like to cut down the cameras. It's a convention that they do. It's not realistic, but people are used to it. Is they have both people facing the screen, and one person's talking over their shoulder from behind, so they can have this conversation while the audience gets to look at both of them. And that's because that's so they don't have to have two cameras on two faces or film the scene twice. Once where it's on one actor, once when it's on the other, and then splice them together. They want to cut down the editing as well. So there's a lot of things they do in there, basically in order to cut down on retakes, to cut down on editing, and be able to turn out a lot more content than other shows have to do.
Oh, and that I think goes along with the music too, right? Not distracting or anything.
Exactly. Anything they can do to strip it down to make the production less burdensome.
Ah, interesting.
Because what hooks people is not so much the music and things like that. What hooks soaps is, which is why they're not really used as much anymore. People are going to reality TV and really vloggers. Vloggers, I think, have replaced soaps where they really did in a lot of ways, which is it was a daily friend. Housewives were at home. They would watch the soaps, they do chores or around the house, and these people would basically keep them company every day. And so soap fans, for example, are okay with those production values being a little lower, like you mentioned, but they get to have that person in their home every day. Every day there's new material, whereas other shows you get to wait a week. So waiting a week versus I want more relationship drama tomorrow and the next day and the next day, you have to kind of cater to that. But now that's sort of like I want to like have media friendships, people I hang out with like every day. I think vloggers have replaced that. Ooh, I'm gonna hang out with so and so, and every day they'll basically tell me about their day or whatever, and I kind of get to be with them. So that kind of like very much. And you notice again, these centralists on Twitter, not Twitter, Facebook. What's the other one though?
Twitter.
Basically, socially being there. Audience.
Instagram.
Exactly. Instagram
is more of pictures. Twitter is more of like just like log lines.
And the vlog is the video. So yeah, those three things, but where you actually give your audience attention on the daily, centralists seem to be well suited that. They have the Jez momentum, but they also have the Vez to kind of be on it, give them pictures. Like Kardashian kind of set the mold for that, giving them something every day. Pictures, new shopping, here's my bag, here's what happened, we were here, we were there, and people can kind of like live vicariously through them. Yeah.
Yeah, I ate this today. Look at the food. This. Yeah.
And there's very little time between fixes. You get a regular fix schedule. But like I said, I think internet basically in that way ate soap operas.
Yeah, it was always hard for me to get into soaps. I think it's a lot of different things going on there. I think but I find soaps like I can't even get into this. Like no matter how hard I try, then I flip the channel.
It's usually pretty cheesy too. I mean, like obviously a lot of it isn't realistic for like all of those relationships to just like suddenly form like between all those people. Like there's like love triangles going on at once between like three families, and it's just like what the hell is going on?
Like,
revive what? Like more than one. Like,
true, but my centralist spirits committee is saying that we have to actually note that there's different kinds of things that are unrealistic to different people. For example, what's more unrealistic about a person having 200 affairs? Sounds crazy, but how unrealistic is that? Or even coming back from the dead once, as Joey mentioned. How unrealistic is that versus Thor being the son of Odin and saving the world?
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah. They do add a little bit of a fantastical.
Which unrealistic are you more okay with? You know what I mean? Myself, I'm with you guys. I'm more okay with Asgardian gods flying around a Marvel universe. So I'm okay with that. But these plots, I don't get it. But I think it's very much like those novels where you'll have like some heiress going through adventures, and she'll go through like a gazillion of them, and you have to get crazy creative, keep giving them new ones. You're like, why do that? Because certain characters. I think Central is made for the Vez. They like being with the character. Give them their credit. Like in soaps, they do have actresses on there that you don't see anywhere else that have been working steadily in that show 25, 30 years. They're in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. They die on that show. And no other medium, my Central community says respect that. No other actual medium really respects their artists quite like that. So that is cool. Although I agree, for me, the art itself, so the stylings of it makes it difficult for me to.
Yeah, and I think with the realism, a lot of that I think gets into their behaviors. Like if you make a universe with Thor and so on and so forth, if you set certain rules and parameters, you can have everything else like their behavior, like as a character, make perfect sense. But I feel like the characters in soap operas, I just don't really find super believable. They seem kind of cheesy to me in a lot of ways. I don't know.
But again, like I said, I'm going to agree with you and disagree a little bit. I agree with you as far as my tastes are in line with yours, Ben. However, the Zai, the principle is, as far as like respecting it and it's for what it does for a person who does appreciate it, is taking Glorious Bastards. Inglourious Basterds is not realistic. They totally rearranged history.
Yeah, that's true. Their behaviors are a little bit over the top
They're over the
for
top.
comedy.
The conversation,
but
all
yeah,
the
yeah.
lines are just so well crafted. It's more like a ballet than a real conversation. So
Yeah,
that's not
that's
realistic, but I love Tarantino. So
Yeah, it lacks a sort of
I agree with you while saying I still think they should be respected for the art form they do, even though it's not my
Cup of tea.
cup of tea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to respect soap operas for what they do, because it is something that exists and that obviously influences a lot of people.
It
And
impacted people's lives. I mean, they really did artistically affect a lot.
there's pros and cons to it, definitely. And
I
different
just
people
think,
have different
like,
tastes.
a lot like vlogging and reality TV, and I think it's replaced this. It's not my thing, but there are reality shows that are done very well. That are, you know what I mean, and also vlogs where they get more into life in a way that's, I don't know, doesn't give me the value add, does others, but it does give value added. So.
Yeah, there's going to be certain things that are going to work better for different kinds of people, and not just by Mojo either. I mean, there's so many other things like Riff and what you're doing in your life and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I think with vlogging, there's also the element of you're actually getting to know the person themselves in a way, as compared to a person playing a role of a character. So there's pros and cons to that too. I mean, sometimes I like movies and TV shows. Sometimes I like watching vlogs. So,
Yeah, sometimes vlogs sort of feel like they're a little bit too real. You know, it's like you kind of want to, you know, with your media, you may want to escape from reality, right? So it's kind of
right. I think with vlogs, sometimes you don't always get that. Well, there's so many different versions of it.
yeah. You might have vlogs that are just more like that do actually you know are like role playing and things like that. Sometimes comedy.
And it's not, you know, even like say Kim Kardashian, or and I don't say her because she's just very seen as good in some ways, but the kind of media personality that kind of like being a real person and is engaging the public as a real person. Generally, they're not like a real person. You know what I mean? Like it's planned.
Chrissy Teigen.
Chrissy Teigen, exactly. So it's planned and choreographed. So even though it's about their real life, it's a choreographed version of it.
Right. And it's an edited, kind of chopped up, kind of all that.
Who had this one?
I
It
have
was Mitchell's.
It was Mitchell.
Yeah.
So next,
interesting.
Nizi Nina Arianda.
Had it down as a knees eye, wide face, as an up kind of energy.
Yeah. On the picture on the right, though, you can see she has like she just. It's a very classic expression I see with a lot of Jai users. She's kind of bringing her mouth up, but like it's not. It's clearly emphasizing the lower lip, and looks very unaware. It's you know it's still smiley, but it's not buttery. It's more authentic.
She's interesting. Throws me off a little bit, actually.
Yeah, she was a tough one to get. Me.
So Ziny Jim Abrams.
I kept going back between the two Ni Alpha. I just hadn't expected to see a Ziny. What broke him for me, they don't look anything alike, but the spell was broken when I realized that Harold Ramis directed Ghostbusters and Stripes and several like classic comedies. I realized, that's a thing. There's actually
This is also signing.
yes, and there's several the Coen Brothers. There's a couple other ones that are big directors that are Ziny. We'll probably see them coming up. But once I realized that, I came back to him because he'd always bothered me because I couldn't get one of the Ni Alpha to fit comfortably. That's why.
Is there another Abrams character? Like a
J.J. Abrams.
JJ, not related to him, is he?
No.
No. Okay. So all right. What was that?
I think the last name sounds similar, but I think it's different spelling.
Yeah, there's no A and J.J. Abrams.
Oh, okay. So one of the A's are missing. Okay. All right. So Ni Alpha, you said, right? So yeah. I mean, he seems like he's got probably some good developed Zai, and the smile, the emoting does look like it's going almost like it's going past the lip line in a way. It looks like it's more bigger than it actually is, but and in terms of, I think, space, it does take up quite a bit of space, but it is localized. The lip, that upper lip there, it's like a plate. It's like a Zai plating there, and it kind of moves up and down, and Zai unifield face all across, the entire length of his face. It gives him that unflappable quality, and the eyes, they look dancing and knee, as compared to intense, like the way Nye cunning would look. Emphasis is also more on the mouth as compared to the eyes as well, and I think his overall energy seems a little bit more adaptive, a lot more loose as compared to tensioned, like it would be for a directed Mojo. So
he has up energy. It wouldn't be like the V up of a Niab, which is a bit altered.
Yeah, lift, right?
Up, a natural up. Now, speaking of which, Ziny, Michael Bay, same thing. This is a Ziny. Very localized emoting. Cheeks don't move hardly at all. And the eyes, actually, he's got a lot of cool veil of flapple going on, but those eyes are up. And the mouth is aware. It's actually doing the same kind of thing. The eyes and the mouth are unified in their objective kind of forward movement.
That's pretty interesting. It makes a lot of sense, though. I mean, it kind of looks a little bit like Bill Nye in a way.
Yes, totally. That one on the left, particularly, that smile, the way it hitches up on one side. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Nizai Max Brooks.
Had him and his dad down as an IZ. They're not.
Okay, yeah. So has a lot. He has good poise.
Only two is that maybe he's a writer.
Yeah.
It may also affect his riff a bit.
Yeah. So more has more worldview, more developed worldview.
More subject power use.
Yeah. All right, but then you'll see the mouth. There's more emphasis on the upper lip, even though the lower lip is volume-wise is kind of jumps out or pops out, but there's more like of the pulling muscles here on the upper lip plate, pulling upward. That comes from the G. And yeah, it goes sideways. It's not really going up into the cheeks, but more sideways into the corners of the
nice you
jawline.
have that too, but the way it does it goes more that downward oval.
Yeah, this one's more upward.
Sideways.
Upside. And then even though his eyes have a good amount of like vibe poise, and you can tell that he has more of a weariness. It's a more subjective use. I guess that's like the more muted quality to his around like the halo of his eyes.
That lift.
Yeah, that lift. Yeah, but still you see here a lot of lift coming from the knee and a receptive quality to the eyes.
Yeah.
He's Mel Brooks.
The same thing with him. He's the one I actually got wrong originally, which leveraged into his son. Although son was a tricky case because he's the writer riff. But with him, it was because he is married to Anne Bancroft, Nizai, and I think I want to make them obviously inspirational, but they're not. They are a very long-standing and happy double Nizai couple. They're one of the great romantic successes in Hollywood.
Oh, so the wife is also Nizai?
She is Anne Bancroft. Always wondered how he got such a elegant, beautiful leading lady. And she always said, because he was very funny to laugh.
Is it Ben?
Okay. Ziny, Ewan Bremer.
Down Ziny.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see the Inez Tower. And then the jaw and his eye is a little tricky, but I don't really see Jai unaware from him. I mean, like, sometimes it's confusing because you're seeing again, if you see Tower, you're seeing the quality of a veil, in a unifield face, and then the knee dancing eyes. And then it can sort of feel like the emoting and the logic-based signals kind of mesh together, and it's kind of hard to pick out which is which. But if you look closely, you can see the emoting isn't going into the cheeks, and the there is, in fact, inflappability in the cheeks and throughout the entire face. That's the dominant signal, essentially.
And again, getting used to this kind of, he does drama and comedy, but as far as what I saw him in with Train Spotting, talk about how the wobbly tower is just really funny. And like sometimes just crazy stuff gets thrown at the tower to watch how it's going to wobble with the craziness. That's a very commonly used comedic trope. Anyway, in Train Spotting, he's the one, I won't get too gross, but he has quite a few incidents of craziness with his habit. They're all, I think, heroin addicts in that movie. And he is like the one that always like the weirdest stuff happens to. You know, like every group has that person where the weirdest stuff happens to. He's that guy. And he always, you know, is giving that look of like, why me? Why is this happening? And so that's not Jai. What's going on? You know, I'm being picked on. That's Zai I'm being picked on. So Voda Towers can kind of do like, the world's just throwing, it seems that the world's throwing an excessive amount of crazy my way as compared to others. Both Jai and Zai, particularly the Nez Towers, use that in comedy.
Also, I feel like the Zai-Ni.
You know, when I walk out the door, it just seems that more weird happens to me than other people. Zai-Ni also do that kind of humor.
Also, I mean, just noticing his face, I feel like the Zai-Ni, they tend to have that triangular-looking face sometimes. I feel like it shows up as a recurrent kind of theme as far as like.
Yeah, it's a bit more of an angular elongation compared to the Jaini. Jaini,
yeah, like their jaw is typically, or is often, I should say, you know, more like very pointy. Like I've seen Zaini kind of have like a diamond structure where like there might be like his is much more is more classically long, but sometimes you'll see that they have like wider cheekbones, but then like the very bottom of their face, it's very triangulated.
Interesting. I'm learning a lot about this.
I think it's that, you know, that downward facing wedge that we talk about the two Zeds gathers having, the Neat Eye and the D's Eye, which contributes to the Cheshire Cat look. In the down part, the design, you're right, it's like they have that downward wedge shaped chin jaw area, but it's been stretched.
Yeah, it's more longer as compared to the Neat Eye, which tends to be a little bit more
compact,
a little bit more flatter on the bottom.
Yeah, a little more square. Yeah, a little more squared off.
Yeah, sort of like Louis Dreyfus. Hers is a little bit more like, it's different, right?
Like it's a blunt wedge, where these are a bit more of a sharper wedge.
Yeah, more finer. Like
yeah. Or like a rectangle compared to a triangle. Sort of. Or I mean, not a rectangle. What do you call it? Trapezoid? I don't know.
Pentagonish kind of shape. I don't know. Like
we're making lots of geometry here. I think if we continue this conversation, which I think is a great one to it, I think we might need to have like pictures of things to work from.
I guess like picture on the right. If you take his, if you take the lower part of his face, it kind of looks like a trapezoid. If you because the chin can kind of be the top of it.
See that? All right, so this is Tom Clancy, and he gave me props for the longest time because I kept singing Jez Hunter, and I was like, Jez Hunter being the author of all these, you know, suspense thrillers, I thought it had to be an IG, but actually Vaiji show up more, and Zenai, in fiction writing than I thought at first. They don't just do the journalism and the nonfiction, historical, biographical, things like that, documentaries. They also do quite a lot of very good fiction writing.
So he was read as a Zenai?
Naiji. He was a Naiji. No, but the Vaiji and Zenai, they actually do bleed over, more females, but also the males too, into fiction writing than I first thought.
Yeah, interesting.
So Vaiji, Tom Clancy, and yeah, the eyes, they kind of, to me, they seem a lot more like Vi and Ni as compared to Nai and V. They lack that sort of cunning signal. I know, and his overall face seems to have more of a the lines and stuff, they have like a more, I don't know, like a more tenser, kind of more yang tension, kind of like, yeah, quality to them. And the eyes, they also have that pupil kind of like having more weight to it, with the knee
surrounding it. I don't know. He just seems very classically Vaiji.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of these things, this gets into like the spells be broken. From a technical standpoint, I don't think he's that challenging. He looks a lot more like a Vaiji than an IG. But that career, I have to admit, it weighed heavily on my 5th year. I had not seen a Vaiji doing that. And it's actually the ladies that did it. Once I realized the ladies, Vaiji, that they were more in fiction writing than I thought, I went back and checked the males, and there was a few of them. He wasn't the only one.
I think it's interesting what also the kind of stuff that they produce as far as like the kinds of fiction that they produce. I think there is a little bit of a difference between Naiji or interpretives versus literals.
You're right. His books are known for their accuracy, very detailed. He really knows the worlds that he's talking about. He does have a more of a journalistic vibe, but I guess that's a very good point. So that's more like a thing that is classically Vaiji, not necessarily the subject matter. International fiction espionage, there can be multiple delivery styles, and so I had to focus more on the delivery style. First of all, I should focus on the cues, but if I was going beyond just the cues, focusing more on the delivery style than just the topic.
Yeah, like what is that book about? The Hunt for Red October.
There's submarines, but it's basically like Cold War espionage thriller. Nuclear weapons and should it be used and will it be used and who's tracking who and that kind of stuff, but done in a very exciting,
fantasized kind of way, a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. It has a character that's made up, but possible.
Yeah,
but kind of like stylized a bit.
That's interesting. All right, do we want to go do another round?
Yeah, I think that's perfect timing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. A lot of times, once you actually kind of just break the spell of presumption, really, the spell of presumption is presumption and maneuvers are two that have to be constantly watched out for. Just thinking like, in a smaller sense, the maneuvers they're doing in a performance, like, oh, those maneuvers must come from a certain instrument. No, all kinds of instruments can do all kinds of maneuvers that overlap with the maneuver pantheons of other instruments, and then also just the way they live their life. Oh, they were in jail for this long, or they did this with their love affairs, or they were doing this in college and they switched to this career path. Those kinds of things, they are really just extra details versus the physiological cues. A lot of times, as we all know, they are influencing factors. They have to be used, though, as dressing, not the main ingredient in a mojo read.
Consequential kind of data, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Can we talk real quick before we sign out? Or before we
firm evidence data. What's that, Ben?
Oh, can we talk real quick before we leave? We can sign off though.
The world.
Bye, world.
Bye, world.
I will.